Okay, welcome to PPS's webinar. We have an extremely special guest this evening. We're going to be working on, is your head holding you back? And the special guest is Mr. Gilbert Francois. Okay, he has delivered on mindset and leadership for over 15 years. He's been on multiple boards as a leader. He's helped over 1,000 clients change the way their headspace is. He's built and sold businesses. He's done stuff in different, business stuff in different market segments across the world. He's consulted to some of the highest CEOs around the world. The man's an absolute genius, and I'm absolutely honoured to be introducing him tonight. And I'm so happy he's here for PPS because he was also my mentor and is now a really, really close friend. So I don't want to waste any more time. I just hope you guys enjoy listening to this man speak. Take it away, Mr. Francois. You're on mute.
I was just testing, man. So thanks for the amazing introduction, Sean. Blessed to be here, and thank you everyone for coming on and having a listen. When Jeff asked me, I was really excited to speak. I think that in this day and age, it's really good to have the opportunity to hear different perspectives. I'm not here to change anybody's mind about how they go about their business. I'm here to just share information that I've shared with clients and give people the opportunity to understand how to implement different perspectives into their life and implement change. The boards that I've worked on and the people that I've worked with, and as Sean mentioned before, the only thing that's ever created any success is the people that I've worked with, not me. I remember when we started working together, Sean, you were mum and dad in the garage, and I think it was 3.5 years later, we went from 2 sales a month to 25 sales a month and 10 staff. And I think you took your first holiday without having to worry about the business, I think 2 years in.
Yep.
So that's all attributed to the mindset of the people that are leading the business and how they contribute to the people working in the business so that they can be lifted up as well. Do I have the capacity to share screen?
Yep. I'll make you the host, yeah?
No. Just if you go to security, there's a little attention there that says share screen.
Yep.
Yeah, just allow me to share screen. Yep. Awesome.
Perfect.
I did like this little presentation just really quickly. Well, let me go back to the beginning. Oh, you just saw the whole presentation.
Nice. Thanks for that, Gil.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later. So my intention is to share everything that I need to, interact with me as we go along, challenge me, help me understand what I'm not being clear enough about. My goal at the end of this, after I give you a basic overview, after I share with you how responsibility for change occurs, I'm going to talk about states of learning. I'm going to talk about fulfillment and self and happiness. My interpretation, of course. You make it your own. I'm not here to argue with anybody's point of view because everyone is right in their perception. And I'm going to share with you a couple of techniques that will give you the ability to create new perceptions and give yourself a balanced view moving forward with all the changes that you want in your life. So that's the intention of this whole time that I've got with you. So I'm going to share an overview and ideology and stuff. But first I want to share with you how each of you came to the understanding that your beliefs were right. And remember, nobody's broken. Nobody needs any fixing. I just want to share with you why you decided your views are correct. So in this life, we have an environment that we engage with. And that environment that we engage with is one where we use our senses to collect information. My wife did this amazing program, brought this diagram home one day, and I went, you know what, I'm going to use that because it's pretty accurate on how we actually absorb information. So we have these senses. We have a parasympathetic and a sympathetic sensory capability within our bodies. That information is absorbed visually, through sound, audio, kinesthetically, through feeling, through our olfactory senses, smell, and gustatory senses, taste. We absorb that information. When we absorb it, we filter it. So how do we filter it? We filter it through deleting what we just don't understand. For example, that doesn't make any sense. We distort information so that it needs to make sense to us, meaning that I sort of understand how something might be true, but I just need time to think it through. I need time to evolve the thinking so it makes some sort of sense to me. And generalizations, we all make consistent generalizations. For example, it's better to listen than to speak first. That's a generalization. And with these filters and that processing of deleting, distorting, and generalizing, we do that against references that we've created in our life. So those references are things like time, space, and matter. For example, you could actually not look at a chair and walk around a chair and not hit the chair. So straight away, you're filtering the information in your environment and you're staying away, space, away from the chair in a timely manner so you don't stub your toe. We use language. So when you hear somebody's tone, you filter, you delete, distort, you generalize the information, and you make an assumption about what that tone's about. You'll never know for a fact unless the person who delivers the tone gives you the specificity of the intention of the tone, and then a further understanding is created between the two parties, or three parties, or four parties, or however many people. You delete, distort, and generalize information, memories, decisions you've made in the past, your values and beliefs. And I'm going to discuss values and beliefs quite deeply today, and attitudes. All of that filtering process creates an internal representation in your mind, your world. It determines your state of being. So as you collect that information through your sympathetic and parasympathetic organs, senses, you make a decision through the filtering process that sends a signal down to a cell in your body that releases a hormone. That hormone's a chemical that creates a chemical reaction and creates a state. Right now, I could say to you, please do me the favor of thinking of a time in your life that made you really happy. And think of that time right now and think about how you felt about that time and that level of happiness or joy or excitement that you had, and feel it as I'm asking you to do so. And that sensation is called a state. That's how a state works. So you've just created a state. Or I could raise my voice and straight away we've got another state. So that's how quick we're absorbing this information, and that determines our psychology, which results in behavior. So when you have a psychology around something, you will behave a certain way. So I've got a question for everyone, and I'd like to engage in some interactions. Pardon the sweat. Pearl made me put on 10 lights because I'm in my wife's office and it's quite dark here, so I've got all these lights going so you can see me. So I'm going to ask this question. If you want to have different results in your life, what would you change in this diagram to have a different result? And if you know the answer, allow for other people to have a guess first. Can anybody tell me what you would change to have a different result moving forward? Four, three, two, one. You would change your behaviour. Why would you change your behaviour? The reason why you would change your behaviour is because when you behave differently, you give different information outwardly into your environment. When you give different information out into your environment, you create different experiences. So you have to assess and filter those additional experiences. So that is how you change. And someone said, oh, it was Einstein. He said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And this is exactly what he was talking about. So there's a couple of points that I'll bring up to help you understand how quickly we filter information. There's a guy named Harlow, and unfortunately Harlow's fame was doing tests on monkeys and then humans. And so he had all these electric probes connected to monkeys, and he put them into a dark room. Have a look on the internet if you dare. Some of the experiments are a little bit not so great, but very interesting anyway. So he put them into a dark room, and then they would put a piece of information into that room. It could have been sound, light, whatever the information was, and then they'd register a change in the brain waves of the monkey as an electrical result. So what they found is in humans, we can filter 2 million bits of information plus. And this was a long time ago that I collected this information. I think it was about 18 years ago, maybe even a bit more. So our senses can absorb over 2 million bits of information per second. Now, the interesting thing is that we can process only 134 bits of information, filter per second. So there's that much more information in our environment that we're not aware of. And we can only process 134 bits of information in chunks. So if I were to give you, this session's a lot of information, so don't expect to absorb all of it. Expectation won't help you here. But if you were to process any information, you could remember 3, maybe 5 and do it well. 7 has been recorded, and back when I got this information that long ago. And recently I heard somebody's doing 9 chunks of information, totally processed, understood, and agreed upon to come to a completion within a second. I can't do that, man. I'm a guy, you know, I can only do about 3 bits of information at any one second. So Harlow's the guy's name, quite an interesting scientist. Now, why is this information important? What are you paying attention to? What chunks of information are you paying attention to that's in your environment? That's really important for you to understand. Okay. So now I want everyone to do an experiment. For those who feel comfortable enough, would you mind putting your cameras on so that I can take you through this little exercise? Thanks, Stefan. And I'm going to give you an example of what it is to be responsible for change. So what I'd like everybody to do is I'd like everybody just to close your eyes for a moment. And this presentation will be available for everyone. So if you want it, you're quite welcome to it. So just close your eyes for a moment, everyone. Close your eyes. Pearl, close your eyes. Yep. So now I want you to relax the muscles around your eyes, and I want you to relax them so much until they're so relaxed that you can't relax them anymore. Keep relaxing your eyes, relaxing your eyes. Hold on to that relaxation. Now, hold on to it. Now I want you to test them and make sure you can't open your eyes. No matter how hard you try, you find that you cannot open your eyes. Try harder, but you can't open your eyes. Now open your eyes. Who did that? Who did that? Yeah. And that's how simple it is to be responsible for change. However, there's a caveat. Without a change of the information in your environment and education and trial and error and fighting in those challenges, not against, but fighting for yourself in those challenges, what you'll actually find is if you don't work through those challenges, you'll always fight the same war. And that's not healthy. Yeah? So the key is to fight different wars. I use the word war because it's what I'm familiar with. Challenges, whatever your interpretation of the word challenge is right for you. I'm not here to argue with anyone. So it's your responsibility to make change in your life. Does that make sense to everyone? Just give us a little, yeah? Okay. I'm going to go through Maslow's stuff. I forget the proper terminology for learning. Now, this is really important around learning about your environment. Maslow talks about 4 stages of learning. And Maslow's hierarchy of learning is an unconscious incompetence. I'm not calling anyone incompetent. Just to be clear, we've got competent people on this call. The group's fantastic. Just a little disclaimer. So unconscious incompetence means you've got no idea at all. There's no awareness about something. And the most common saying that I hear these days, which is a bit strange to me, is you don't know what you don't know. Unconscious incompetence. How can you know what you don't know? You don't. It's like the first time you see a bike. Oh, what's that? Somebody says it's a bike. Well, what do you do with it? You ride it. So then you hop on the bike and you try and ride it. So consciously, you've got an incompetence around being able to ride it well because you've got to learn, you've got to practice. So you fall over a couple of times, you scuff your knee, your pants or dress gets caught in the cogs or the gears. But eventually what happens is you create a conscious competence. And that conscious competence means that now you've got a level of confidence to be aware of how to ride a bike. You stop falling over, you manage your speed, and then one day your parents or somebody says, could you go to the milk bar and buy me a loaf of bread? The bike's outside at the front door. Without thinking about how to ride it, you pick it up, you hop on the bike, you ride to the milk bar, you ride back, you drop the bike, you walk into the house. You didn't think about how to pedal. You didn't think about what muscles to use. So now you have an unconscious competence. It's really important to understand these stages of learning about anything in your environment. Anything you want to change, you've taken responsibility for the change, as you did with the exercise with your eyes closed, and you just did this process. I wanted to show you how simple this process actually is. I'm not saying the challenges are simple. Challenges are difficult because you decide that they're difficult. It doesn't mean that they are. It's what information are you going to apply to make those changes occur. All the changes that you can make about anything in your environment come from a thing called strategy. Now, how is strategy created? Some people on this call have had children, and some people on this call have been children. So I'm going to share with you how a strategy works. And I'll use a child as the example. My youngest son, if he wants to get breastfed, he went through a stage, if he wanted to get breastfed, he went through a stage where he would whinge. So all of a sudden he'd whinge, he'd realise, I'm going to have something to eat. He'd whinge, breastfeed, whinge, breastfeed. And that was his strategy. That was his outcome. You can see there, outcome, knowing what you want. You wanted to be fed. All of a sudden, my wife went, okay, so now it's time to teach him to wean off. So he started using rapport and flexibility. He used tone. He'd make my wife happy and he'd still get breastfed. Now he gets to the stage where he can use a few words and he needs to communicate effectively. So now he's got great rapport. He still knows what he wants and he's using language and he's blackmailing my wife so that he can get breastfed. Yeah, it's amazing to watch children because children are such experts at strategy. Children will teach you more about how to adopt a strategy than most adults can. So pay attention to what children do because they're good teachers. A lot of us have already experienced children. So watch younger people. Having younger people in an organisation will teach you so much. And a lot of the organisations that I've worked in, developing younger people to bring their thinking into the business has been such a strategic advantage over any competitor because the thinking is new. They've perfected their strategy on how to do things and we can learn from them. So then what happened with my son is he started using sensory acuity with my wife. He would watch my wife when her breast was a little sore. And then he would time it because he knew she was lactating. So now he's using his sensory acuity. And then he's using everything that he's learnt through getting the outcomes, building rapport, language, and his sensory acuity to still get breastfed. Now, the really interesting thing is my wife doesn't want to breastfeed anymore. So what strategies can he use? He's doing his damnedest at the moment, and not many of his strategies and tactics are working. So he's trying to change his internal processes. He's starting to say, well, if I go to bed now, will you? So now he's blackmailing even more. He's strategizing consistently, quickly, because he still wants what he wants. And he's changing his internal states. He's trying to create more behavior to become breastfed. There's no difference in how a strategy is created here to the in life for anyone at any age as it is for my youngest son. There's no difference. However, the challenges and the environment are different, and that's where the learning comes into it. I might skip this slide. So is anybody aware of how we create a reality? No? I can't see everyone. I can, yeah, Sean. Sean knows how. Yeah, awesome.
I'll have a crack. We'll create a reality by taking on information, I can only imagine, and then seeing it to be real for yourself, believing it. That'd be your reality, correct? Would that be right?
Yeah, yes, spot on. So it's really interesting. One of the conversations that I had recently with a company leader, they said, oh, you know, I've always had this fear that I won't do things well enough. So I thought, okay, if that's real, where does that exist? Does it have color? Does it have shape? Does it have a form? Where does it exist? Straight away, it was like, yeah, it exists in my head. So then is it real? Well, for the client, yeah, 100%, it was real, because all the sensations from that event that they experienced determine their reality. Nobody can tell you something's not real. Like I said earlier, I'm not here to argue. Nobody's broken. If you say something is real for you, it's real for you. And good leadership and good mindset is having the capacity and the courage to talk through anything. Otherwise, you will consistently fight the same battle. Yeah. Once you take responsibility that you are the one who chose that reality, what will actually happen is you become neutral. So an event occurred in your environment, you absorbed the information, you filtered it. This example, space-time event. Once you filtered it, you created your model of the world, your interpretation of the world, your interpretation of that reality. You chose to either be disempowered by it, or you put yourself in an unresourceful state. You stagnate, you stifle, or your reality could have been the opposite. You created an empowering state. It's good to raise your voice to get what you want, like my little boy tried. Or you created a resourceful state where you know how to talk to someone around figures so that they actually believe what you believe yourself to help them. Or you support and serve because that's what you do. Yeah? So that's two sides of the coin. But really, what we're looking for is that third side of the coin, and that is that neutral present state. And that's really important because when you remain neutral and present, you'll stay in a place of actuality, the actual reality. It's really important to understand that. Do I do this stuff all the time consistently? No. I'm not fazed whether I do or don't. At least I know the difference and I can make decisions and take responsibility. So it's really important in this foundation that I'm sharing with you that you understand how to be neutral. Because when you're neutral, you'll collect more information. It's really cool being in a neutral place.
Gilbert, regarding these events and things, empowering state and disempowering state and all these things, I always thought about it as spending energy, like your brain energy, and how like just building up, yes, spending energy rather than having these different states. Just the energy level is the difference more than the different states.
So, yeah, it's correct. You're correct. So the explanation of state is the explanation that you can apply to the energy. So you can be in a negative state, that's a negative energy. So you can actually feel that. So you're correct. So when you absorb information, you're sending messages through your neural network. Your neural network's connected to your muscles, so for example, and I can tense a muscle. All of a sudden I get a sensation. A state is a chemical reaction in your body. It's not my neural network that tensed that muscle. It's the release of the chemicals from the neural network that talk to my muscle to tense it, and I can feel that energy. So energy is, because that's what we are, we're energetic beings. And everything's energy. State is just an explanation. You can have a positive state, negative state, empowered state, disempowered state. You could be excited, that's a state, but it feels like energy. Has anybody ever been so angry they can feel their body just vibrating? That's energy. That's the chemical releases in your body. And it's amazing the moment that you decide to take responsibility for that state. For example, the example I like the most is if I decide to be angry, then I can decide not to be angry. But if I don't take responsibility for my anger, then I'll say something like, I'm angry. And it's really interesting comment with language, because I'm angry is saying that I'm no longer Gilbert. The anger has got me. Yeah. So for me to take responsibility and not be a victim of my own thinking and be neutral, I need to say, my name is Gilbert Francois, and I decided to be angry. That way I can decide to be angry between 8:15 and 8:30 on every Monday morning. See, because when you buy into misidentifying who you are with the emotion, then you're giving your power away. And when you give your power away, it's really difficult to make a decision to change. And that's an energetic thing. I'm so glad you said that, Stefan. You know, my other son said the other day, I'm hungry. And I said, wow, man, I wish I could be hungry and Gilbert at the same time. You know, so my name's Gilbert and I'm feeling hunger. Yeah. So it's really important. And what's the saying? People say victim, victor.
Mm.
You know. So here's the thing that I would like everybody just to consider, because Stefan, you helped me so much with that point. In your environment at any one time, what decision are you making to create that energetic reaction or that state? Why is it that you're holding on to something that doesn't serve you? I said earlier in this session, I was talking about happiness. Can somebody jump in and share with me what their belief of happiness is? I'm like, it's right for you, yeah? Nobody's wrong in this conversation. What's the definition of happiness?
It depends on what's happening externally.
Yeah. So you see how Pearl, thank you very much. Did you see how Pearl just told us that if something outside of her occurs that creates her state, then she's happy?
Mm.
So it's really important that we understand that happiness comes from within. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be happy. It doesn't mean that you can't be sad. All of those things are you. You have multiple ways of dealing with things, so everything that's you is right. Happiness moving forward, especially with the environment in the world today, is around fulfillment. So I'm going to cover values and beliefs now, and I'll come back to the point of happiness.
If I can just say one thing on happiness is, I find if you project happiness, or if you project your happy energy out, you know, that's makes you happy and makes you receive more happy energy. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good doing.
So happiness is also a choice, as you, I mean, we're trying to make choices here.
Yeah, spot on, spot on. I really like that. So, values. I'm going to talk to you about values for a moment from my own personal experience, and I just want you to consider that for who you are in this world, in your own lives. I'll give you two examples. So I'm a neat freak and compulsive excessive in the things that I love doing, and I love getting my hands dirty in the work that I do because I really enjoy being a workaholic. My wife is the opposite. She's not a neat freak. Man, she lives in chaos. When I walk, I'm in her office now, and half my sweat is because there's crap everywhere. I'm like, how the hell can you work in this stuff? My values and beliefs are not the same as my wife. And a perfect example, I remember years ago, I used to share this example. My wife would say, let's have a date night and just have some time together and just be present with each other. So I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. I cook a 5-course meal. I've got music going. I've got all their favorite food. I'm like, yeah, candles, the whole lot. We sit on the couch. I'm like, yeah, that was really good. We had a good conversation. Bang, turn on a movie. She goes, what are you doing? I said, yeah, we're being present. We're having alone time together. She goes, that's not my version of alone time. I'm like, what? So her interpretation of what was important to her is something that I didn't do enough work to uncover so that we could find a joint agreement about what we value the most that would support each other. It didn't mean that I had to change the person I needed to be. So now I'll close the loop on happiness. In everything that you do and everything that you express, are you being your true self? If we were to work in a world where you could be your true self in everything that you do and feel protected enough to express your true self, you would be actually living your purpose and you would be happy. You would be fulfilled. And true happiness is that sensation of fulfillment. And how values work is values will send you nana. It will bring grief if you work in the opposite area of what you value most to send you back to what you value most. Does that make sense? So if you value something and you don't do it, and you bring more of what you don't value into your life, you'll experience hardship, unhappiness, pain. And they are there as a signal, as a messenger, as a message to you to push you back to what you value the most. So in your life, around everything that you do, like investments, find out what you value the most, work towards that. I don't talk with many, in many circles around investment and mindset. The reason why I don't, and I've chosen not to deliberately, is because it's very rare to get people who will work to what you value the most. Mm-hmm. And when you find people in your life that are willing to hear your voice and how you express yourself, then stay there because you're safe. But if you're not being heard, they're not understanding your values. But here's the key. You need to understand your values, and you have a different value set in every part of your life. I've worked with high-end athletes that were on antidepressants from psychiatrists. And when they understood this, within no time at all, and practiced it, there's a bit of implementation that's required. There's no quick fix. I guarantee you guys that. There's no magic wand. A sensation and understanding doesn't mean that you realize something. So you need to practice until you realize. You need to create those habits. But these guys, they got off the antidepressants very quickly. I've worked with major CEOs that used to have emotional breakdowns because of the beliefs that they carried that didn't serve what they valued the most. And there's something that's really important to adopt for yourself when it comes to those values and beliefs, the challenges in your life, and the decision to take responsibility to move forward, to uphold those values for yourself, for your family, if you have children, for your legacy. It's really important to have this candor. Can I invite you, please, Eric, to share what candor means in our way of perceiving? Eric's probably just come on just to put numbers on because he likes me.
Yeah, so candor for us in our company is really, really important. And the way that we describe it is that it is open, honest, and frank conversation, giving each other the most favorable interpretation in the absence of truth.
Thanks, Eric. And doing this for yourself, to yourself, is critical. The reason why it's critical is because the only person you ever lie to in your entire life is yourself. The image and the ego that we support are important so that we can reflect on those things, to see the truth, to make decisions, to be within our power, not power over people. You know, your power, and your power lies in your values and beliefs. And when you live those values and beliefs, you become Zen. You become fulfilled. It's okay to fall in and out. With every one of our clients, this is something that I've always taught. How do you do this stuff? How do you actually become fulfilled? How do you actually realize that the perception that you're holding is the illusion that you're giving yourself? And if you've got a pen and paper, or you've got a photographic memory, just remember what I'm about to say. Write it down if you need to. Here's the key to everything. Yeah, this is like the magic pill. If you want change and you want to implement that into your life, decide to. That's it. It's that easy. The challenge is not easy because you have to learn, you have to adopt new methodologies, create new strategies. Yeah. So in the positions that I've worked in, I've been a lead director on boards. I've worked with a few billionaires, billion-dollar enterprises, and there is more effort today, and the last, I'd say, 6 years of when I was consistently mentoring, there's more effort in creating the decision than dealing with a problem. Because when you decide to, for some unknown reason which I haven't uncovered yet, the problems disappear. Yeah. What I would like to do, I had a slide here. This is for you, Stefan. Yeah.
Hey, before we move on, can I just ask one question, please?
Yeah, ask two.
What's your definition of a decision? Just so people understand what a real decision is.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah. So a decision is when you willingly make action towards a change. Because thinking about it won't take you anywhere. Thinking and action equals change, not one or the other. has to be both. Because if your thoughts aren't in it, then your actions are going to be empty. If your thoughts in it, then your actions are going to be effective. The best way that I've learnt to think about it is like this. I would like my mind to outlast my body.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at making a decision. Take the action, people I think take the leap, however you say that.
Burn the boats, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. Do it. It'll only bring you an education. You will not hurt anyone. Everyone I know on this call, and like this topic in itself, you attract people who are kind in their hearts, you know, and you want to give the love that you have out into the world. And there's a lot of challenges occurring at the moment because the decision to change hasn't been made. And yet organizations, you're seeing the changes. Only 11 years ago, the CEO of Nestle said, water is not a human right. Yeah, their values. Have a look at what's happening to Nestle. So many providers are coming into the marketplace. The only thing that's keeping their value up is their historical brand reputation and the amount of money that's available to be made from their profits as dividend payouts. That's becoming hollow. So everyone's fighting now, and people are going towards those who are vulnerable, open, caring enough, and have a level of candor in their behavior between each other. Look for that in your life. That mindset has been around for years. I could have this conversation in Australia 18 years ago, and I know, is it okay for me to swear? I think it is, yeah. And I know people would have said to me, oh man, you're a wanker. However, the funny thing was, 18 years ago, if I were overseas, and I'm talking about my time in Hamburg, it'd be like, yes, yeah. No? So we all have a different level of growth and understanding in the world, and the world is becoming smaller. So it's relying on you to contribute to the legacy by being your true self. That's our survival technique. It's okay to be. And when you work with business owners and you allow for them to give themselves permission, get them to allow for themselves, to give themselves permission, it's a different business. It's a strong business. It's an enjoyable business, and it's fulfilling happiness. Yeah. So this is for you, Stefan, this one. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. It's not a philosophy, it's physics.
Yeah, well, I've started businesses out of high school, and basically, yeah, having that state of mind build stuff up, and you get surrounded by good things and people.
Filter, everyone, filter, like Stefan just explained, filter, consistently filter. It doesn't mean that you're lesser or better than anyone. I don't know about you guys, but I grew up with never look up to anyone and never look down on anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're equal, we're the same. There's nobody that I've ever sat in front of or across from that I've ever felt that they are more or less than I am. It's impossible when you understand this. We all have different experiences. So when you're deciding to build your legacy, find those people that can give you what you value the most. Allow for yourself to make decisions, to move forward with what you want in your life and have that bold dream become a reality. Because it's what you want. It's already who you are. So the mindset is, what is it that I'm not doing that I can or that I must to have what I want? My 3-year-old, he's not 3 yet, 2 years and 10 months old. He does it really well. And if he can do it, I know I can. I'll quickly talk about manifestation. When I'm on song, and I'm not always on song, when I'm on song, I'll always get exactly what I ask for. Exactly. And people have said to me, geez, you're lucky. But luck doesn't come into it because the harder I work, the luckier I get. It's really strange, yeah? But if I want something and I put it out there in the world and it's within my values set, you know, I have values in relationships, I have values in life, in so many different areas of life. When what I want aligns to all of that, it's easier to get because it's easier to learn and change and adapt. I want to leave it open now because this whole session has been based on mindset and investment. And I don't know if you guys picked it up, but what I actually said is understand your values, find the people who support those values that can educate you so you can make better decisions, delete your challenges, get the information that you need to know within yourself that's true so that you pick up the skill, the strategy and the habits to consistently build that legacy out because that's why you invest. There's no other reason for investing other than it meets a level of value that you uphold or you hold high in your life with high regard. If there's a value that doesn't, just treat it with the highest disregard. It's not who you are. All you'll find there is pain, unhappiness, sadness, anger to push you back to what you value the most. How weird is that? Floor's open. Talk to me. What?
Right.
A lot of information, huh?
Gilbert, what makes your values right?
You.
So, and I'm not sure if it's a belief or a value, whatever. So if I'm a racist, sexist, whatever, am I right?
They're right for you. It doesn't mean I have to agree. If I was more accepting that people are on a journey, it doesn't mean I have to agree with how they behave, what they think, but it doesn't mean that they're lesser than I am. Unfortunately, for them, they've been in a place that hasn't supported who they truly are. Hate, hatred, anger comes from a place of manipulation. When you're in a place of true love and care, people will lift you up to give you a perspective to contribute to the world.
Yeah.
How sad for somebody who hasn't had that opportunity to experience what real love is about. That's sad.
Yeah, that's the massive challenge I have, is that what you're saying, they're having, but at the same time, I'm thinking that the way they were brought up, led, whatever, from those people's eyes, it was out of love and respect and.
Yeah, I did this course years ago, Darren. Good seeing you again, buddy.
Likewise, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah. I did this course years ago with a guy who was the mindset coach for Paul Roos, Robin Crawley, and it was emotional awareness for men. And I remember sitting in there and I thought that I had the biggest problem in the world. You know, there was 7 of us around in the circle. And here I am, I'm sharing my story going, yeah, it's massively, you know, a big problem. And before me, I was really judgmental. I was hearing everybody's story, and instead of accepting their stories, I was like, oh yeah, do this and do this, do this, do this, do this, and it'll fix it. You know, I was young and foolish. All of a sudden, the guy next to me gets up and he tells his story. And his story was that his mother took him to a mental asylum and said, this is how you have to behave to show that you love me. And he was in there for a few years until a psychiatrist asked him, so why are you in here? Man, he had his choice taken away from him, just like in being in an environment where people manipulate you for their gain instead of promoting you and lifting you up so that you can be the person you've always known you are.
It's hard, isn't it? It's very hard.
It's hard, man. It's hard. And remember, I'm not a motivational speaker. I don't want to stack pleasure and pain for everybody to go, yeah. It's like, it's a fact. Love is the thing that we all flourish with.
Well, I just have some experiences that are a bit interesting when it comes to people that have clients and things I worked with. And often the most successful people that I worked with are the biggest assholes and psychopaths.
You're working with the wrong people.
Yeah. So that's they will take and take, and they will pull you and they'll smile and manipulate. So you just go, and they are rich and they are successful in monetary terms, and you know they look like they're successful, but it's there are also lots of studies on psychopaths and also cultural things that are also going into, you know, different cultural things and psychopathy and, you know, mass things, but I won't be more specific. But yeah, it's a general thing I see around the world.
Yeah. I've got a solution for you. Yeah. And it's going to be strange at first. I've had the pleasure of working with some of the most beautiful people in the world that are billionaires. One of my dear friends created 3 $1 billion companies in the space of only a decade. You know? And I've personally, I think that he's one of the most loving men that I've ever met in my life. And the key, Stefan, to finding those sort of people is learn how to listen to your intuition without any noise. If you listen to your intuition and you take hold and embrace that, your intuition will not send you down a path that won't serve you.
No, that's very correct, because I wasn't operating with these guys directly. I was part of a company and I wasn't the person that was interacting with them. But yes, you can hear it in their timbre of the voice and their behavior and stuff. Like, I wouldn't share an elevator with some of these people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's really cool. What a great awareness, huh? Because you got to view the opposite. That's a really good lesson. Sean, did you want to say something?
That was interesting. It's all I was thinking about is where your attention goes, energy flows. So if you're and like you were saying, Gil, please correct me, if I've misunderstood, but if you're filtering towards anything, like let's just pretend you're looking for a relationship in life, but you have a belief that there is no such thing as a good relationship. So what are you going to attract? Your belief is no such thing as a good relationship. Therefore, you'll attract one of two things: a shit relationship or you'll find a good relationship, and then you won't allow it to work because you'll filter for all the shit. Out of the 2 million bits of information, the 134, I think it was, bits that you'll take on will be all filtering towards the crap. So it's like Gil says, hopefully I got this right, is to take the action and the decision to think differently, take the responsibility for your thoughts and where you put yourself so that you can put yourself somewhere different that works. Is that right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great interpretation. I'd love for Eric to chime in again. The reason why I'd like you to chime in, Eric, is if nobody knows, Eric is the selected CEO of our tech company. And having a brains trust that works on this level, on this sort of conversation, is so important in your life, whether it's a friend or a business colleague or the people who are serving you for your investments. You know, have that brains trust. Eric, could you comment, please, on where your energy goes? How did you say it, Sean?
Where thoughts go, energy flows.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about crap, that's where you end up.
Yeah. Eric?
I definitely agree, because, you know, what you focus on is what you get, right? There is no other way, because you are creating the parameters of which to manifest your reality, right? That's definitely true. I think where I give certain attention to, because we've talked about behaviors, we've talked about values, but one of the things on Gilbert's slide was filters, right? Filters. And filters are of particular interest to me because I see the filters as represented in Gilbert's slide as frames of reference, you know, of which we help perceive different things in the world, everything from an idea, everything from a feeling, an emotion. Where does that focus or where does that interpretation come from? It's usually from the filter that's generated by the accumulation of the experience from everything, right? From behavior to environment and what you're taught. So I feel that a focus on looking at your filters and finding ways to change them, whether it be through self-discovery, education, but really examining it and making that the goal. That can be very helpful for individuals, whether it be in business, personal, or even as we're speaking here about investment. Because for me, the thing about investment is about the ability to deal with risk. That's a big part of it as well. And I find that people's filters usually have a big impact on their ability to understand and deal with risk.
Really well said. It reminds me of a conversation. I don't know how we're tracking for time. I hopefully we'll be okay for one more story. You're muted, Sean.
Yeah, one more quick one, I'd say.
Okay. So what Eric just explained there happened this morning with a client who owns quite a large business. It's a retail business, and they sell goods out to the public. And he said, man, if I increase my prices, I don't know, that's a massive risk to the business. So to me, I knew straight away he was working from a place of fear. So what we did was we grabbed his numbers and we went through a process where I went, what would happen if we had 10% less sales, 20, 30, 40, 50% less sales at this price compared to this price? And the drop in the worst case scenario for him was only going to be $290. So he was sweating over $290 for a month of sales.
Yeah.
Because he didn't go to the facts. He put his opinion in place first. His filter was, shit, I might lose money, fear.
Yeah, he let fear control him.
Mm-hmm. Just for a little while. Just for a little while.
Yeah. Well, it was good that he had a good advisor there, Gil, to go, hey, how about you have a look at this? Like, here's the numbers. Have a look at that. And I've been through those conversations with Gil. Guy's a surgeon. I've got nothing but absolute praise for that man. And for a quick story where Gilbert was saying, if you don't mind me sharing, Gil,
Yeah, go for it.
conversation you and I had, it was a personal conversation about after my weekend with Di Martini.
Yeah,
Are you comfortable with me sharing?
yeah, go for it.
And this Gil used to say to me all the time, and I used to put Gil on a pedestal all the time because the man's a genius. So to me, that was an excuse to put him on a pedestal. So I went to a DM. He used to say, I'm no different. Like you said tonight, I'm no different. We're on the same level. Everyone's the same. Doesn't matter who you are, you're the same. That's all there is to it. And I remember Di Martini explained it in a way to me that I owned it, how much damage I was doing to Gilbert, putting pressure on him by putting him on a pedestal and me in a lower amount, and how much damage I was doing to myself instead of being neutral in the same place. So after I did that seminar, I rang Gilbert up. I said, hey, Gil, guess what, mate? We're equals.
Yeah.
And I love you, brother.
Yeah.
It was actually quite an emotional moment because we could connect. That was the first time we could properly connect at the same level. So all this sort of stuff that Gilbert's talking about is absolutely powerful. And if you know of anybody that needs a little bit of sharpening up in any sort of headspace, I cannot give enough gratitude and praise towards Gilbert's capabilities of taking someone from where they are to where they want to be, not where Gilbert wants to take them, from where they are to where they want to be and who they truly are. That's the power of getting what you want in life, and that's the power of happiness. Gilbert, my brother, my friend, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us this evening. I'm really, truly grateful.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for the interactions, Pearl, Stefan, Louis. So nice seeing you too, Darren, and thanks for that comment. That's a really good, comment to actually start to discuss. I'm really blessed to be here, and say good day to Jeff for us too. I think he's in the pub having a drink now.
I think he's very frustrated with the internet where he is. It's not the best. He's in the middle of nowhere. But anyway.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Any questions about anything, please get in touch. And if you don't know Gil already and you want to get in touch, let me know. I'm sure Gil's happy for me to send his information around.
Thank you.
Thanks, people. Have a lovely Thursday evening.
Bye, guys.
Bye.